I am Brandon Clark. This is my co-host Swall Hall, and today we're meeting on uncommon ground. So we've got quite the stories for you. We have a major White House ballroom remodel that everybody's talking about. Some are upset about, some like it. We'll get into that. We have Kamala Harris talking about a potential 2028 presidential run, and we're all definitely excited about that. And last, we're going to talk about some of these boat strikes, mainly in the Caribbean. They've recently extended to the Pacific as well. So we'll get into all of that, the kind of controversy around that, the justifications given. And then we're ending to kind of match the theme of the week. We're going to debate if Halloween has Christian origins or pagan origins. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a pretty good one as well. To kind of start with the White House stuff, Trump did not announce this really on the campaign, but didn't really announce it in the first coming months. It kind of seemed pretty quick from when he said, hey, we're going to do this, to where we're now working on the remodeling, where he's I don't remember the name. It's Trump something ballroom or something like that. He's making a new ballroom at the White House. He had to take out the East Wing to do it, which is kind of insane that he would do it. I know the size of the ballroom. I've heard it's like bigger than the White House, bigger than at least like portions of the White House. It's like the biggest remodel that's ever been done. The cost, I think they originally said 200 million. And then now they've come back out and said, well, it's 300 million. It's being entirely paid for by Trump himself and then like private companies. There's like a list of the companies that have donated to it. So that's kind of, I guess, laying the scene out. Swall, what are your thoughts on it? And then we'll kind of we'll jump into it fully.
Yeah, so I had the same initial thoughts that probably everybody had, which is this seems like a waste of money. Of course, then I was informed about it being paid for privately by Trump or by donations or by others or other financiers. Um, so I don't particularly personally have any problem with like remodeling the White House. I mean, I don't know if you looked at the website or his like post about it on the White House website where it shows some of the different some of the different construction things that they've done, some of the different remodels. So it's not like a president has never, done anything to the White House. Even the Oval Office itself was an add-on. So that part doesn't really bother me. The only thing that really sticks out to me is one that the government's closed, and two, people are struggling with their grocery bills and whatnot, and just optically, I think it looks quite bad. Um, but functionally, I don't necessarily have a problem. I think it's kind of stupid that we have to, have nice dinners that are paid for with taxpayer dollars to have all these big wigs out there. But I understand there's something about keeping up appearances with the world and having foreign leaders and dignitaries. Like I get you got to kind of do some of the schmoozing and have balls and galas. Like I get it, but at the same time, it seems a little opulent. It just seems like a little bit um, much. But one thing that stuck out to me, like I said, I don't know if you did look at the White House website, but he put this dude is say what you want about Trump. This man's either him or whoever works for him understands memes and understands comedy. You're scrolling through the timeline and it's like, oh, the East Wing was built, and then the North Wing and the Oval Office, and then Obama had the Islamic Brothers into the White House, and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And then you scroll one more, and it's like the golf course or like the tennis court, I mean, and then it's like trans day of visibility, like him putting all this random stuff in there. I thought was pretty what's the word I'm looking for? I thought it was funny. It was wild. It
Yeah.
took me for a loop. So those are kind of my initial thoughts.
I think the problem people have with the remodel is kind of like in scope, it's unparalleled, like especially in to the ones he's like trying to compare it to, like Obama, like a big one they were saying at first was like, oh, Obama in a basketball court. Like Obama repainted lines on a tennis court and then put up
Right.
like removable basketball nets. So like the idea that that is like comparable to Trump decimating the East Wing, which is like considered like the people's wing of the White House, right? It's like we're like the most scenic place, I guess, where people come in and they go through all the different places in the East Wing, now gone. There was like no talks of this. He didn't run on it. So there's no idea that it's like the will of the people. That is where I think like most people are kind of getting hung up on that. My biggest thing is kind of just in the nature of Trump and knowing how he is very much like quid pro quo, take bribes, give favors. Like he's pardoned people who has donated to his campaign. Like we know these things. So the idea that like a bunch of like the top corporations in America are now paying for a Trump ballroom privately, like behind the scenes, kind of scares me as to like, well, what handouts are you going to give them? We've already seen them kind of like decimate the FTC. Like we've seen them kind of take off like the CFPB, these kind of things that stop scams and corruption from corporations onto consumers. So it's like, how much more leeway are you going to give them now that they're building you a ballroom? That's kind of my thing. And I think I believe it was Ruben Gallego that said it. I might be wrong on who it was. Whoever it was, the next Democratic president in office, whoever runs in 2028, this has to be part of their platform. You're either demolishing it, you're signing an executive order to demolish it on day one, or you're renaming it after Obama. Like that is a must for the next Democratic president.
Renaming after Obama is wild, but
That's the one I'm leaning
is
towards.
it,
They should
it
come
what,
in and on day one,
does
rename
it
it towards Obama.
is it does it have a name? Is it like called the Trump
It
Room or
is.
something?
Yeah, it is. It's like the Trump Memorial Ballroom, or it's like something like that. It's definitely like
Yeah,
the
I
Trump
mean,
Ballroom.
I I'm not aware of any Democrats who would be ballsy enough to like rename it after just another guy. I think they would be more likely to say like the Abraham Lincoln or like the Constitutional Ballroom.
Nope.
Like they're just gonna call it some American nonsense. Naming
Yeah.
after
Nope.
Obama would be
Nope. It should either
kind
be
of
Obama,
random.
either demolish it or name it after
Well,
Obama.
demolish it would be it would be it would be to do the exact same thing that we're accusing Trump of. It'd be wasteful. I mean, think about demolishing it would be insane. I mean, that would be a spit in the face
I
to the
think
American
demolishing
people.
it to put back the East Wing would be a noble goal. I think that the East Wing trumps
Nah,
the
no
usefulness
way,
of a major ballroom.
no way.
Well,
I
the East
think
Wing
Bill.
has historical significance. It's the People's Wing. I could look up real quick
Right.
all the things that were in the East Wing.
Well, sure, but I
There's
mean,
no idea a ballroom matters more than that.
speaking as the traditional trad Catholic type of guy, sometimes tradition for tradition's sake, history. Oh, it's really old. Who gives a crap? Like I don't really care
Right.
that it's old. So
So a woman can be the Pope, right? Because tradition doesn't matter.
well, that's different. That's not
Okay, so
tradition.
you're
That's divine revelation.
right. So
That's way
exactly.
different.
It's the
But
specific traditions you like
well,
should
that's divine
stay, and the
revelation. What I
specific
mean is
traditions that you don't like.
traditions are can be good, but
Right,
traditions
right,
aren't good simply because they're old,
right.
which
Well, I think things
is
like the
something that
East Wing
people
aren't,
agree. Which is fine. I'm
especially
just
over
saying,
a ballroom that a man is naming
me
after himself
personally,
and
they
having
could
paid for by
a
corporations.
president could say, actually, I'm tearing down the White House and we're building the American skyscraper, and it wouldn't bother me
So
one
then why would it
iota.
bother you if they did it to the ballroom?
Well, like I said, it feels wasteful. It would bother me in that sense, but
Wouldn't the same thing apply if they did it to the White House then?
yeah, I mean, I said the same thing about him, what he's doing right now. I think it's wasteful. It's a waste of money and
Yeah,
time and effort and everything. It's just a waste of everybody's, it's a waste of everything, but
I agree
it would
it's a
just
waste.
be stacking on top more waste just for
I don't think so. I
for
think that
like
the East
playground
Wing.
bully, like I got you too, like optics of like, it
Well,
just feels like
no
childish to
well
me.
to be fair, I think renaming it after Obama for sure would be childish and petty, and I would love all of that, and that's why I lean more
Yeah.
towards that because I think the childish response is the one that should happen. Now, demolishing it and rebuilding the East Wing is hardly childish. I would consider that noble. I think that's the correct thing to do. The East Wing has historical significance. People care about the East Wing. It's like a huge
When you
like
say
tourist
people
thing.
care about the East Wing, you understand it's like 1% of Americans. Like nobody knows about it. None of us know about it. Nobody our age, none of our, like, nobody cares about the White House or could name anything but the Oval Office, except
Well,
for the people who are history buffs.
I think people who care about our traditions and anyone, I mean, when you go, again, it's called the People's Wing for a reason. Like when you go in for tours in the White House, like this is where people go and where they have all the things to show you and all the history of our country and all of this that is now just gone because Trump would rather have a giant ballroom. And to me, I think like re-putting that kind of history back up for people to be able to see, that would be a noble goal. And that's why I would support that. Even though
Yeah, I mean,
I do lean more towards just renaming it after Obama because that would piss Trump off so much.
I don't know the details, but I doubt they just like blow up everything. Well, it's still on the walls. Like they probably took everything down. They have it all in storage. Like we still have all of the history. It's just the actual drywall and plaster that got blown up. So I don't think it really
Right. And
matters all that much. Like we have all the
well, I
stuff
do.
still.
Yeah.
They can put it up in the ballroom if they
Sure.
want to.
I
Like
think it matters for the history.
just,
I think it should be in the room where Americans before us have walked through to see it.
but only some
I think
Americans before us, because as he put on the timeline, it's only been there for a little bit of time. Like the whole White House got rebuilt 100 years after we opened the country. So like,
sure. I mean, the East
it's
Wing has
not
been
that
around.
old.
The East Wing's pretty old, but
I
yeah,
mean, they're
no,
old, but
yeah, and
yeah.
I definitely would support the East Wing
I
over.
would just say, out of everything this man's has done, both terms, this is like the smallest thing he's ever done, in my opinion. Like it does not matter at all whatsoever. But
Yeah, I don't
that's
think
just
it
my
matters too much.
take.
I like for me
Like,
the biggest concern is what comes next in terms of what he's going to do for the corporations that built the ballroom. I think that's the biggest question. But yeah, did you have anything else that you wanted to add for
no, I just think like if Biden had done this, nobody would care. Like I just think we only care because it's Trump. I think a
Well, I don't
president
think
deciding
Biden,
to build
yeah,
something is just like nobody cares.
right. Well, I think
Personally,
that's a difference. I don't think Biden would have demolished the East Wing for a ballroom. I think that's just a difference in respect that yeah, Biden and other presidents, not even just Biden, any other president has had for our country. And that's why when you look at other White House remodels, there's never been a remodel that decimates a historically significant portion of the White House, which is again why people care about this differently than like Obama redrawing lines on a tennis court. But Kamala's next. Kamala Harris. I actually was kind of out of the loop on this, just because I guess I'm not a shitlib enough. I don't know, but she had like her book. Her book was released. I've just been looking into this kind of like to the what led up to it, and her book was released. In it, I guess she kind of like talks about what went wrong in her campaign and what she wishes she could have done right. Obviously, when you release a book, you go on a media tour. So she's done a few interviews, also kind of saying, public service is in my bones. Like I'm not done yet. To me, I'm not a big Kamala fan. I personally hope she doesn't run again. My opinion was that she probably should have ran for governor in California. I think that that would have been a natural and good transition for her. And then maybe after that, if you want to run again or whatever. I guess before I get too much in my opinion, Swal, I'll let you can because you suggested the topic actually is the conservative. So what are you seeing and what do you think? And then we'll kind of get more into our thoughts.
yeah, from what I understand, it wasn't like I'm running. It was just I'm not done. I'm leaving the door open.
Yeah.
Trying to play coy with the interviewers a little bit. So let's be clear that we don't know for a fact that Kamala is going to run. I would be kind of surprised if she didn't run. At least obviously going through like the primaries and whatnot. But I personally am with you. I don't think that she should, and I would be happy if she didn't. Mostly because I want the Democratic Party to be better, and I want the Republican Party to be better. And so sticking around with the same old candidates that already lost, it doesn't seem like she's very popular, even amongst, like, at least amongst the sort of soft Democrat crowd. And by that, I mean the people who basically, they're not super political, but they know like Republicans bad, kind of. And so they just like vote Democrat because they're like, I like gay
My mom.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But they're not like, none of these guys are reading like any of the issues, like specifically, like they just know it's not Trump or it's not Republican. And I think that group of people doesn't really like Kamala all that much. And so I think it wouldn't be wise for the Democratic Party to run with her. I think that they need, as much as it would scare me, I think they need somebody who has a little bit more of a populist leaning, just to corral enough support to demolish the next time around. Obviously, we'll probably be running Vance on our side, or old Florida boy. What's with the
DeSantis.
yeah, DeSantis.
No, DeSantis is done for.
I hope so.
With
I
all
never
due
liked that.
respect, yeah.
I never liked that weirdo, but
It
um,
sucks. Well, it sucks. What I'll say quickly, it sucks for DeSantis because he had such a promising political career,
right
and
until
Trump ruined that by
yeah,
coming back and running in 20. Like had
yep,
DeSantis either just should not have ran in 2024 and then tried
yep,
2028, or
yep.
like just Trump kind of screwed him over because Trump winning his vice president is obviously going to kind of be like the chosen
The
guy.
front runner,
So
right?
like, yeah, I know DeSantis is like punching the air about that, but
Well, it was a little up in the air because I forget if it was Washington, but one state at least had kind of like banned Trump from being on the ballot, or they
Yeah,
were working towards that.
Colorado.
So it was like it was looking like, okay, maybe he's not going to be even in the running, because if I remember, he didn't like join. He didn't do any of the primary stuff, right? He
Yeah, well,
just
he didn't
kind
do
of
the. He was in, but he
he,
didn't do any
he
debates.
just kind of
None of
like
that.
boom, just came in and was like, "It's me,
Yeah,
I'm back."
yeah.
Like
He literally
so,
was like, "I'm not debating anyone else because I'm
right,
already the nominee." Like,
right.
but
So, but yeah, I think it would be unwise. I think they need somebody who's a little bit more likable and interesting and charismatic than she is. But at the same time, if we have somebody good on our side, then like if you guys want to pick a losing candidate, then
yeah.
right, you
So,
know,
so what I have to say, I guess, is I agree with you. I think Vance is probably going to be the candidate in 2028. Just because I think there's like some weird legacy thing. But if Donald Trump Jr. doesn't run, it's probably going to be Vance. I see he's like in polls, so I don't know if he's like that's like a thing or if it's
I
but
know I've been seeing
um
that too.
I think if Vance is the nominee, that the 2028 election is going to be kind of wide open. I would liken that kind of to like McCain in 2008, where like McCain, I guess not a terrible candidate, but he was kind of just the guy because you didn't have a good candidate. To be
Yeah.
to be fair, Rudy Giuliani, I kind of like I like look back and like historically try to like analyze elections sometimes. Rudy Giuliani was probably the right guy in 2008. I don't he didn't run for whatever reason or whatever. I think the same thing's going to happen in 2028. Your best candidates ran in 2024 and they took such big hits. I don't know if they'll run again in 2028. Nikki Haley won't be relevant in 2028. She's probably your best bet, right? I think that she's the
Hmm.
strongest candidate Republicans
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
DeSantis was just killed politically. Like donors were pulling out of his campaign by the time he dropped out and stuff. I just don't see him ever being, and then he just like, he was weird. Like he did not resonate with people
His
on the
little
national.
smile.
Yeah, like it didn't hit the way it did in Florida for him. So like I don't think he's ever going to run again. To that, right? To the fact that I do think Republicans are going to have a very weak field of candidates running, maybe Kamala could run and win, right?
Sure.
However, I don't want her to because one, I don't think she's the best speaker. And I think we need a really good messenger. Two, she's flip-flopped on like her positions where she was in 2020 ran really progressive and then in 2024 ran like a Bidenite, right? Which is, I guess you could say she might have had to, right? I guess she had 100 days to run. You're Biden's vice president. It's not like you can just like disavow everything you did the last
Everything he
4 years.
stood for. Yeah.
But like, I still think that hurts you politically in terms of running again. I don't think
Sure.
she would come out of the primary. And I just like, I don't get why she didn't run for California governor because she would have so easily won. She could have been governor of California. And then, if anything, that might have given her a chance. I don't know if she's just like looking forward. And it's like, if she goes governor now and then she runs in like 2032, well, now she's running against like AOC. And you're not going to beat AOC in the Democratic Party. I think everyone knows that. I don't know, like, because Gavin Newsom's going to run in 2028. I don't think she beats Gavin Newsom in the primary. Gavin Newsom is far more popular than she is. He's doing far more like press stuff, and he's going to be politically relevant for at least the next 2 years. He's governor of California, while Kamala Harris isn't even in politics, right? So like once her book tour's done, she's out of the public eye for who knows how many years.
Mhm.
It just really seems dumb to me in every way that she would even leave the door open to do this, to the point that I don't know if she even will actually go through with it. I definitely think the party would reject her.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. We've already discussed on the show how much I don't think Newsom. I didn't think he was liked, but obviously you're more plugged in, so um, you've told me that he's very well respected and liked for what he's been doing in California. But yeah, I just think I don't know. I always feel like I want somebody who I haven't heard of for both sides each
Yeah.
year. I'm like, can it be somebody else, like other than the people that we already have? Because a lot of them are already doing a lackluster job at whatever role that they're in my opinion. And I just want change, but which I know it's not very conservative of me or whatever, but it's like I just feel like I don't want to get stuck, like you said, with another Bidenite or another like this is just the same thing we just did before. It's like
Another
it just
Bush
feels like
light.
putting a band-aid on the country for another 4 years, and another band-aid and another one until we get another Trump revolutionary type crazy guy. And honestly, like I said, I think that that's kind of what I expect the Democrats to pump out, but I'm just not sure who that would be. So maybe it won't come for couple years. So
We've had a Clinton, Bush, Biden, or Trump in every election since 1990. I just want to say that. Like four names have
yeah,
dominated our political elections for 30
stretch.
years, right? Which that's where we can get together on. I also think we should change. I think it's insane that Biden was in like 7 primaries, like right? Like one thing that was kind of just a bit of a sidebar, like when Kamala was running, a common like thing I was hearing from MAGA was they were saying like, oh, well, she just lost in the primary. And so like what? Obviously the Democrats rejected her. Well, obviously you guys don't know that Joe Biden ran in the primary like 5 times and
Right.
flipped out every time because of a different controversy or scandal. Like he in like the 80s, he was in the primary. And then like the whole like black kids comment or whatever,
Yep.
like Indian kids in the gas station. But like, so I don't know. To me, I just wish we would get better candidates. People who watch my channel know I'm not like a huge Gavin Newsom guy. Like if I had my choice of a candidate, I mean, it would be like now I guess Gretchen Whitmer, just because I don't think AOC is old enough to run in
Yeah, I
2028.
think she's like
I think,
32. You
yeah,
gotta
I
be
think
35, right?
yeah, I think 32 would be the first one she could run. Obviously, that would be like she's like the closest to my politics. I would, in 2028, like even if like a Tim Walz ran for like one term, there's
Tim
so many
Walz.
people that I would prefer to run, but like Gavin Newsom can win. And I don't see anyone in the Republican Party who could beat Gavin Newsom. Like that's just kind of like at the end of the day why I want him to run, because he's progressive enough, and I don't think anyone beats him.
Well, that's why I say if for either side, it could be, like not this guy specifically, but like a Vivek or a what was my guy Andrew Yang. Somebody who like we just don't know the name of right now because they're not. They might be like in politics in the sense that maybe they've done like something mayor or
Yeah.
contributed money or served on somebody's something,
Mhm.
or maybe they're in tech or some sort of business guy. But that's where I see us getting new blood in here is non-politicians, or at least not career
Well,
politicians.
I think the problem
But I
for
don't know.
you, I think the problem for your side is that there's definitely gonna need to be like a passing of the torch from Trump to whoever gets, I feel like that's just gonna have to happen.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
why
we
I feel
will
like
run Vance. I think we will run Vance.
that or
But
Rubio, that's someone I just forgot. I think Rubio is a stronger candidate than Vance personally. Rubio's also like a better person than Vance.
and
Like
he ran against Obama, right?
I think so. I know he ran in
Yeah.
2016 against Trump in the primary.
Oh,
Like
against
he
Trump.
was
That's
one
what
of
it
those
was.
guys. I don't know if he ran. I don't remember if he ran
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
He was one of those guys, him, like Ted Cruz, they were all in that big primary with like 20 people that Trump ended up coming out of. But yeah, yeah. So who knows? In my opinion, I would the election I'd want to see in 2028 would be like Newsom, Rubio, because I hate Vance. I think he's a terrible person and he has really bad policies. And Rubio doesn't have a spine, and he's like sold a lot of his morals to like join the MAGA elk. But like dude, I remember when Marco Rubio was like in the Gang of Eight talking about there should be a pathway for undocumented immigrants who haven't committed crimes and stuff like that. So I know he's like a reasonable dude at his core, at least. He's just
Right.
a
Maybe
Republican.
he's gotten radicalized though.
You never know. But yeah, do you have anything else on Kamala?
Nah,
And
no.
so we have boat strikes. When I actually pitched or when I told Swall this was going to be one of the topics, there was 9 boat strikes. So my numbers might be a little off. I think there's been 12 now or 13, somewhere in that ballpark. There's been a few more in the last couple of days. Over 50 have been killed. Like I mentioned at the beginning, these started in the Caribbean. They were striking boats off of Venezuela. And now I think yesterday might have been the first one, might have been a day before, but they've recently expanded to the Pacific as well. It should be noted Venezuela, Colombia, they're not on board with these strikes. Mexico, not on board with these strikes. So Trump is doing these against the wishes of the countries that the boats are offshore of. He's doing it without congressional approval. And he's most importantly doing it without any evidence being put forth of the justification he's giving for it. He's saying that he's bombing drug traffickers on boats. No evidence of this has been put forth. And actually, evidence of the contrary has been put forth in that Colombia has came out and said at least one of the boats was theirs and absolutely had at least 2 civilians on it. So no evidence put forth in his favor, evidence of the contrary. It seems like we're just doing George Bush stuff. Like we're just bombing countries to bomb them and we're hoping it never comes back on us. Swa, what are you seeing? What are your thoughts on this as the conservative? Are you more sympathetic to this kind of thing? lay out your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously just war theory says that you can't just attack first. And so this whole thing hinges on Trump's argument that, these are drug warlords and they're pumping a bunch of drugs into our country, fentanyl and all that, and killing our women and children, or whatever his thing is on that. But like you said, it all comes down to the evidence. Is that actually true? Because if it's not true, then obviously these are absolute crimes against humanity, war crimes. I believe Colombia called for it to stop. Let's see, Bogota, I think if I'm saying that right, protested as well back in October, a couple of days ago in October. So yeah, I just feel like um, I would like to see something. I don't know what he needs to publish or what the White House needs to publish, but some sort of proof to the American people that he's not just bombing innocents. Obviously, like we said, there was at least some, and perhaps honest mistake, horrible mistake to make. I believe it was some fishermen who were on that boat. Um, but right now, the White House is saying that they're not going to make a retraction. They're not going to stop this behavior. So I am a little bit concerned about what happens if we just keep on pushing these countries around. Like, I don't want war. Nobody wants war. I don't know if this is like, I don't know enough about foreign policies to know if this would like bubble up to be that big of a thing where it would turn into a war. But like, either way, they're saying that it's unlawful. So I think that we should at least take a beat. And I always am going to err on the side of life. So I think better safe than sorry. I'd rather not bomb anybody, but especially if we're not sure that they're violent criminals.
And I mean, it should, I've made this point a million times on my channel now. George Bush was doing this exact stuff in the Middle East right before 9/11. The
Mhm.
idea that we can just preemptively bomb whoever and there will not be any repercussions is not true, and it has never been true. Trump himself did this in his first term, bombing Iran. That he killed General Soleimani, and then Iran retaliated and killed 3 U.S. troops in a base in Iran. We're not like, Trump has this idea that we're like untouchable or invincible. And to some extent, we're less touchable than other countries. So I guess I get where he gets it from, but we're not like untouchable, especially abroad, right? Like we have
Right.
troops abroad. So the idea that we can just do this in and of itself, I think is insane. Two, even if there is justification given, I still think he's in the wrong because he's doing this without congressional approval, which is overstepping his authority, right? Like if we're going to be doing strikes, if he's going to be doing what he's essentially considering a war against the cartels, well, Congress has to declare war, right? He can't do this. He can't just go on and have done over a dozen boat strikes on various countries just because he wants to. Like we're in a democracy, and for
Yeah.
Trump,
Didn't
he's
he
supposed to be a,
cite state of emergency kind of thing to try to say that he has the emergency powers in
probably.
this war to do stuff like this or something like that? Or wasn't that his justification for putting the troops in the cities?
Yeah,
If,
that was
if we're
definitely for
going
that.
the
Yeah.
cartels and
Yeah. Yeah.
all these illegals are working for the cartels, so it's like sort of attached. It's like all of this is part of the war on, but it's like we're not repeating the war on drugs because it's different, but it's like you're just doing a war on drugs again,
Yeah,
and this has
exactly.
not worked for us. Like I don't know what will work for us, but the other thing I was thinking is like do this enough, and they're just gonna find other ways to get here, dude. Like they're not gonna go on boats anymore.
Yeah.
If
And
and
well,
then
in
they're gonna
terms of
figure out land or air ways to get there. You know?
in terms of his strikes in the Caribbean, like Venezuela isn't even a major player in the drug trade, right? Like I guess now that he struck the Pacific, you could say, and I mean the Pacific isn't like a major player in terms of, but most comes through the Pacific, right? So you could
Right.
say, oh well, he's striking the Pacific, so most comes through there, whatever. But like Venezuela, these countries are not like, if you wiped Venezuela off the map, the drug trade would be at the exact same level, right?
Right.
So like the idea that like that justifies that is still just insane to me. And like again, it's just like the idea that like one man can have the power to just like see something and be like, yeah, let's just kill people. Like that's just kind of crazy to me. There should be steps that you have to go through. And then I've covered like on my channel various like Face the Nation interviews and stuff with people who are like on these oversight committees, and they're saying like, yeah, they're not even giving them details of like the strikes before they happen. Like some of these strikes they found out about after the fact. So it's like completely consolidated under Trump that this is happening, which is scary, right? Like that should be scary to anyone.
Yeah, I think that's all. Obviously, if all of that's accurate and true, I think that that's all whack. Like I said, I value human life obviously very, very highly. So I don't think that we should be doing any of this at all, pretty much. But let alone under these specific circumstances, which seem extremely dubious at best. So yeah, I would just like the White House to be more clear about its goals and what data it has, and even if not with us, with the countries that you're attacking, like because they're convinced that this is not legitimate in any way, and so it's like you need to at least sit down with like you know the president Gustavo or whoever and like chat it out and like yo, this is what's happening. If you're not going to stop your guys, we're going to stop them or something. Like this needs to be talked out. This is
Yeah.
politics and diplomacy, not just bomb, 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 bomb.
What gets me the most is how for like a year or two, the whole MAGA thing was, like Democrats are warmongers
Yeah,
because
no new wars, no new
yeah,
wars.
we're sending aid to Ukraine, so like they're the warmongers, and Donald Trump never does war. Like he said, no new wars. And now he comes in and we preemptively bomb Iran. We're bombing fishing boats in the Caribbean. We're bombing the Pacific. He's mentioned like sending troops to
Well, he
annex.
bombed those bases or whatever too. Remember, like on land, I don't remember if it was Qatar or where that was.
Yeah, yeah,
It was like,
exactly.
and they were like, it was actually citizens again.
And this dude, I don't know. It's
Bad intel, it seems, but
bad
at
intel
least.
or purposefully bad decisions,
Yeah,
but hey, at least it wasn't leaked on Signal, so we got a little better, right? We
let's go.
steps in the right direction. Do you have anything else on the boat strikes or anything?
Nope. Let's get to Halloween. Halloween.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, we're debating Halloween, guys. Swa, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I think you should go first, not to toot my own horn, because I think after I go, it's done.
Okay. I want to say, I guess the caveat I want to give before we hop in, just because like we usually debate things that like I have a very passionate opinion on. I more so like I like if you think Halloween's Christian or whatever, and that allows you to celebrate it, celebrate. Like I don't think that you should not celebrate Halloween because you're a Christian. I just want to give like that caveat. I'm not trying to ruin holidays for anyone. It's just kind of themed with the week. And then I could tell kind of a Swa with how he was like posting things. I feel like he was itching for an argument on this. So I thought it would make for good for the show.
That's
So,
facts.
but
He
yeah,
was itching.
my belief is Halloween originally descends kind of pre-Christian from like Gaelic and Celtic festivals. Most notably, and I might botch the name. What is it? Samhain.
Samhain.
Samhain, yeah, whatever. Of which Halloween, it still retains a lot of the themes from Samhain. I think it was later kind of rebranded under Christian observances. We saw the Pope move All Saints Day or whatever from May 13th to November 1st, kind of later in like the 8th or 9th century. Samhain was observed from October 31st to November 1st. Talking's hard, I guess. We have like pretty ancient kind of texts and documents or whatever kind of articling this. I'm gonna botch these names. The metrical Dain Shinashash, the lore of places is what that stands for. Sorry for the botched pronunciation. This comes from the 8th century, and then the Takshmark Emir, again, sorry for the pronunciations, also from the 8th century. They both describe Samhain as a liminal time where the boundaries between the worlds are weakened and that spirits and deities could roam the human realm. Again, like I said, the Pope kind of moved the day after the fact. A lot of scholars seem to think it was kind of deliberate as a way to kind of like Christianize a pagan holiday. But yeah, I have quotes from these kind of texts from the 8th century, from the 7th century, from Samhain, the men of Ulster ever wont to hold festival, and demons would attack them in hosts. From Samhain till Beltane, the doors of the Cid is the other world, are closed. From Beltane to Samhain, they are open, for then the spirits wander. These all are, again, quotes from like 8th century, 7th century writings. And there's more that I can lay out, but I want to give Swa his chance to kind of open.
Yeah, so obviously I'm defending that Halloween is a Christian holiday. First and foremost, the most obvious argument one can make is that the very name Halloween means holy. All Hallows Eve is where the name comes from. Hallowed be thy name, if you guys know the Lord's Prayer. So this is like clearly uh, a Christian phrasing, and it comes from the season before All Saints Day, leading up to All Souls on November 2nd. So it's All Hallows Eve, All Saints, and then All Souls, and it's 3 days that makes up the Triduum of Death. And this is called All Hallow Tide, is what that whole season is called. So the idea that Halloween comes from a pagan holiday called Samhain is actually a 19th century fantasy built on bad scholarship, with no medieval evidence behind it. When you actually examine the sources, Halloween is Christian. And so it comes down to five claims mostly that people want to make, which is number one, that there was one Celtic religion and festival that was celebrated everywhere called Samhain. That's not true. There's no unified Celtic religion. There never was. Celtic isn't a people, it's a language group across Spain, France, Germany, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and Turkey. So there's no Celtic group. That's not a group of people that exists. It's just a bunch of different groups that speak one language. So there's no shared religion or liturgical calendar or feast day between these people. That's not even what they called themselves. That's actually what the Greeks called them, just to label random tribes from the north. So they call them the Celts. So there's no like giant pan-European Samhain festival that ever happened. And my reference for that is from Malcolm Chapman. He wrote a book called "The Celts: The Construction of a Myth," and he's a what's the word I'm looking for? This not a theologian, but like the secular
Historian?
version. Yes. And then the claim number two, that Samhain was the Celtic New Year and a religious day about death. So the only pre-Christian Celtic calendar that we have puts their New Year at the winter solstice, so it wasn't at November 1st or any time around that. And every Irish reference we have is just that it was a festival for harvest, and so essentially at the end of harvest. So essentially, what we have is a big end of work party, where they would eat and feast, and it was like legal assembly. So there was nothing religious about it, no veil thinning or ghost roaming or anything like that. That comes from the historian Ronald Hutton. Um, and then claim three, Samhain was when the dead walked the earth, and that's where Halloween gets it. So everything that we have talking about dead walking the earth is from, like I said, 19th, 20th century. Those are like modern texts that say that, but we can't actually find any like historical attestation for that. That actually comes from Christianity, where we pray for the souls of the dead during All Hallow Tide. So you've got All Hallows Eve, which is the vigil before All Saints Day, and on All Saints Day we honor the saints that have gone before us. Saints in Catholicism, Christianity are just Christians who have passed away and are in heaven. And then All Souls Day is on November 2nd. Those are for the souls in purgatory. So the souls that are still being purified. So that's where we pray for them and reflect on our own mortality. And so all of that comes from the Christians, not the pagans. Specifically, All Souls Day, the third day, was started in 998. And so the only reason that the season is about the dead is because Christianity made it that way. The bonfires and spooky customs came from Samhain. So bonfires appear in Catholic Ireland, and in parts of Britain as well. And so, uh, sure, you could say that the bonfires happen during Samhain as well as a big fall festival, but that's not that doesn't really do much for the argument. But people would also, in Catholicism, we light candles for souls, and when we pray and stuff, and so they would put them in like squashes and stuff, and that's where like jack lanterns come from. And then during the Reformation period, like 16th and 17th centuries, when Catholics were being persecuted, they would have to like go and like hide and stuff, and so they would use candles and stuff like outdoors and stuff in like the woods and secret, to do these celebrations. And then the last thing, that the church moved All Saints Day. This one is super easy to debunk because Christians referenced the Feast of the Martyrs or All Saints starting in the 300s. So the feast itself clearly predates. In Rome, it's correct. It was on May 13th, and then it got moved to November 1st. But it got moved because Germany was already celebrating it that day, and the Pope wanted to universalize it across the entire kingdom, Catholic kingdom, or whatever you want to call it. And so that's why it got moved. And then originally in Ireland, they actually celebrated All Saints on April 20th. So it was nowhere near Samhain. And they were doing this before we have any evidence of Samhain. So the timeline of it all makes the theory kind of impossible. And just, I'll let you respond. And then I have some other things about like the specific traditions if you want to talk about that. But that's kind of my
Yeah,
argument.
yeah. So you said a lot of things there that I just think are untrue. I do agree there's not a centralized Celtic religion, but there definitely was Celtic religion, religious practices, and they were kind of broadly shared. There was a shared set of religious practices among Celtic people. Again, just not centralized. And we have archaeological findings to back this, right? We have sanctuaries at, again, gonna botch these, Emain, Makkah. We have Gaulish inscriptions to deities like Lugus and Brigid. There's different archaeological findings throughout different periods of history that show a sort of shared set of religious practices, just not centralized, kind of because of the things you're saying. Another thing you kept mentioning, that writings only come from the 19th century. I'll butcher the names again, real quick for you. The metrical Dineshinshas, lore of places. This is 8th century. The
You said
top mark.
lore of places.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
like kind of what they I don't know. But the Tokmark Emir, also 8th century. I had more because I watched your video, so I figured a few of the things that you were kind of going to
Sure.
say. There's again gonna botch all of these, right? Saglij Khan Kulan. This is a 9th century writing. It details the Samhain festival as it details a fairy spirit from the other world. We have Ektra Narai. Again, sorry for butchering. This is an 8th century writing where the opening line establishes a Samhain as a night in which the dead rise and boundaries break. So no, this doesn't just come from the 19th century. These come from very, very early ones. And I took a couple of them from these writings, if you want me to like cite them specifically. But then the other thing you said was kind of about, what was it, like the traditions or the customs? I guess you could link them to Christianity. You could just as easily link all of them to Samhain, right? Like bonfires, right? Continuations of the purification fires that were meant to repeal evil spirits in Samhain. Costumes and masks derived from the ancient belief in disguising oneself from the roaming spirits during Samhain. Jack-o'-lanterns are rooted in the Celtic traditions of lighting turnip lanterns to ward off spirits. So like, I mean, if in any point that you could say these are linked to Christianity, you could just say they're linked to Solomon too. So it's like, I think that that's kind of a moot point. I just think that archaeologically, linguistically, and textually, in terms of what we have, there's strong evidence that this predates kind of Christianity.
Yeah. So, you said the lore of places. Is that the one you said was Dinsh Dinshinchas, or what'd you say it was called?
No, there's three. Though I listed three there. There's the metrical Dineshinshas,
Metrical Dinshin Din.
Dinshinshas. Yeah.
Okay, Dinshinchas. Okay, that's what I thought.
Then there's lore of places, and there's Tokmark Emir, and then I guess I cited two more down here.
Okay, so I'm not. I'll be forthright and say that I'm not familiar with these. But having just looked up just the one that I could attempt to spell because you said lore of places or whatever, metrical dunchang, I'm seeing that it's actually written in the 11th or 12th century, and so what we have is 500 years
No, no, no,
past.
no, no, no. Published in 12th century with writings from the 8th century.
You mean quoting writings?
It's
Like
using
they're
writings
they're
specifically.
quoting writings from there?
They're taking writings from the 8th century, and it was published
Sure.
one complete work in the 12th century.
Sure. So what I also have is that this is actually these are written by Christian monks and clerical poets, and the content is about place names, legends, heroic lore, and that this is a Christian document. And so I'm not even seeing that this is. And so I could be incorrect, but this is
Right.
what
I
Ronald
mean,
Hutton.
I have direct, like I have the passages. I can just read them for you. The passages in that work that specifically details Samhain in the way I'm saying. Like I can just, I have it right
Who
here. Do you
who
want
is
it
who is the where are you getting the quotes from? Like where's the citation from? Because
directly from the metrical Dinshinshas?
like
And
the
then
actual
I also,
document, you have the
yeah,
document of it.
I have I have quotes that I took directly from it, and then I also have one from the Tokmark Emir. So I can cite two from the metrical Dinushas, and then I can cite one from the Tokmark Emir. Like for
Yeah,
instance,
give me the
from
one from
Samhain
the.
till Beltane, the doors of the Cid are closed. The Cid is the other world. From Beltane till Samhain, they are open. For then the spirits wander, and the hosts of Sidhe, that's the other world, move abroad.
Looking it up real quick. But essentially, my understanding from reading Ronald Hutton and whatnot. Um, oh, okay. So what I'm seeing is that Ronald Hutton talks about the din whatever the lore of store. What do you call it? The lore of places, and he writes that it has no evidence of Samhain or anything in it, and so does John Carey from UCC. Lore of places is not documentation of pagan rituals.
Okay,
So I typed
Jeffrey
in.
Gantz,
Oh,
evidence. It is evidence. I mean, there's early Irish myths and sagas published by Penguin Classics saying it's evidence. Like Nicholas Rogers, right here, 2002. All pointing towards this as evidence. So like I can cite scholars
well,
too. I don't know who Ronald Hutton is. I would assume like is it who even is this dude?
a historian. So I looked up that quote from Samhain to Beltane. The doors are closed and the host of the city. Turns out, apparently, this is from Akalam na Sinarak, which is the colloquy of the ancients, which is also a 12th century. So I don't even think it's from that document, which is why I was asking
Oh yeah,
where
no,
you get that citation from, because I'm seeing that it's not actually from that, and that this is fairy folk mythic stuff that was also written by Christian clerics as poetry. So I'm not seeing this. It was Celtics or anything like that when I Google it. So I
yeah.
don't know. But
I have it directly cited from the work, I guess. Also, just to put it out there, Ronald Hutton, religious, don't give any shit what he says about religion. Bias, don't care. don't really care if a religious guy is saying that Halloween is a religious holiday. Had to just look that up to be sure. But yeah, no. So like again, at Samhain, the men of Ulster, where won't be an assembly on the green of Iman Makkah every year, demons would come against them until the coming of Cu Chulainn. No man dared go forth from the fort. For at Samhain, the men of Ulster, wherever won't hold to festival, and demons would attack them in hosts. I have a plethora of quotes from these different writings I've cited from the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th centuries, all about Samhain. And even if they did come from the 12th century, what you said is that they came from corrupted works in the 19th century. So you're still off by about 700 years. Even if
well, what I meant was like the argument. Like nobody was saying like, "Hey, Halloween is pagan" until the 19th century. Like nobody made those claims. Like you're not going to find anybody, other historians or anybody else talking
I don't
about
think any of
this
them.
idea. Well, it does because it means it was
When people
fabricated
start
by
saying something matters, no.
yes, because it
No,
shows
no,
it can help show
no.
motivation, which is the motivation to discredit what is clearly
Except there's
a
very clear
Christian.
historical and textual
Well,
evidence.
like I said, it's not so clear because I'm seeing that none of that's
I just
accurate. It's all
cited
coming
three
from
things from 8th and 9th century
way,
writings, but okay.
but they're not 8th, 9th century. They're 12th century.
They
Is what I'm
are. No,
saying.
they're
They're
writings
12th
from the 8th
century.
century. The
And
documents you're
if
not
you don't,
familiar with that I
if
just researched before we did this, I'm sure you know
it,
more about than me.
I'm
For
just
sure. Totally
Googling
makes
it. I'm
sense.
showing you that that's not what Googling's saying. But
Published in
John
the
Carey,
12th
the
century
Celtic
using
Studies,
writings from the 8th and 9th
is
century.
saying that the
I don't know
city
what are you talking
belongs
about?
to post-conversion mythology and is not a documented pagan rite. None of this stuff is written down. You're not going to find a pre-medieval pagan documentation of anything that has anything to do with any of this. You can't. It doesn't exist.
I just listed 4, guys. I literally
It
cited 4.
doesn't exist. Google them for yourselves. You'll see the dates. You'll see that they're written by Christians.
I
You'll
cited
see that
4
they're
and
not
gave you guys
pagan.
quotes from them. Like, I don't know.
Misquotes.
Okay, here,
Misquotes.
hold on. The metrical, I just looked this up. The metrical dynasty is a collection of poems about the origin of Irish place names and celebrations, was compiled in the Middle Irish period with the during the 12th with the
12th century.
the first being compiled in the 12th century. However, the poems themselves contain material that date back to the 5th and 6th century. Almost like
But
I
how
just
much?
fucking
But
said.
how much of the
Almost
poems?
like
That
I just
specific
said.
line. That
Almost like
specific line.
it's
That
almost like I
specific
just
line.
said. Yeah,
That specific line.
I literally cited multiple from the 8th and 9th
No,
century.
I know.
You can cherry pick what you want. I gave you
You're
multiple
saying those
from the
specific
8th and
lines
9th
come from
century.
the 8th and 9th
No,
century.
they're not true because you haven't heard of them. Right.
No, you're saying those specific lines come from the 8th and 9th century. You said that.
I can cite you a document that comes from the 8th and 9th century that talks specifically about this. The Sergelet Con Culain, the Etra Narai. both early Irish from the 8th and 9th century. Both talk about Samhain, both talk about it as a festival with dead spirits. It's almost like what you're saying just doesn't pan out in reality. I don't know.
It does pan out in reality because, as I said, we've got it going back to the 300s. So even if you want to say the 500s or the 700s or the 800s,
the back pedal, guys.
all you're going to get
the back pedal already. Hey, guys, people who are correct about something, backpedal.
I'm not backpedaling. I said 300s in my argument. I said
19th century was the earliest in your argument.
Yes, that's when the 19th century is when the argument came that hey, Halloween is Samhain. That's when that came.
No, you said no writings. There were no writings earlier than the 19th century. I just gave you something.
I know, but what I meant by
but it doesn't even matter.
That's not what I meant by no writings. I meant there's no writings.
You didn't mean the words you said when you said them?
Yeah, I meant to say there's no writings saying Halloween is pagan before the 19th century. That's what I was talking about. Not that there's no writings about Samhain. Obviously, Samhain existed. We know that.
I'll take the back pedal as a concession.
It's not a back pedal at all.
But again, I do want to say, like, if pretending that Halloween comes from Christian,
it's not pretending. So, anyways, trick or treating comes from medieval souling when poor children and people would go up for prayers for the dead. Christian. Costumes, dressing up as saints, Christian, jack-o'-lanterns,
or derived from the ancient belief of disguising oneself from the roaming spirits. That's from Samhain, jack-o'-lantern. It's rooted in the Celtic.
It's not from Samhain. Everything we have from Samhain is about it being a harvest festival. You guys can look up the documents. We have all modern historians are against this. Every single one of them. None of them agree with this. The only ones.
Jeffrey Gantz disagrees with you. He is a historian. He disagrees with you. What do you have to say about that? You just said none do. Do you want to backpedal that one too?
Okay, obviously none is.
To say some historians, okay.
Yes, obviously
that backpedal also as a concession of my victory.
My goodness.
2 backpedals to 0.
Way.
I win.
No way.
I backpedaled nothing and he backpedaled twice, so I'm victorious.
Nope, not victorious. As you try to say, 8th, 9th century, 12th century came hundreds of years after, and we have no attestation of it having anything to do with Halloween whatsoever. Even if I was to concede every single thing about Samhain, all of it having to do with all of that, the fact that it comes 500 years after just shows that, Samhain just wanted to adapt it to be like Catholicism.
That tracks,
I mean, here's the main thing you have to focus on.
That does not track at all. Okay,
how does that not track at all? All of the things that are in Samhain existed 500 years prior to Samhain. But we just made it up. But if it goes the other way, then it's an argument? That doesn't make any sense.
So Christians believe in the other world?
Christians believe in purgatory, which is where the souls are.
Okay, that's not the other world, but okay.
Spirits and souls?
What's purgatory?
Purgatory is after you pass away, your soul needs to be purified, and so you pray for those people.
Okay, guys.
So take that, and during the medieval times, a lot of people postulated it.
Right now, look up what Irish people meant when they talked about the Cid, and compare that to purgatory. And guys, tell us in the comments.
And the Cid is post conversion, so this is after.
And tell us in the comments if they're the same thing. So when we're talking about they got everything from Christianity, but we'll leave it there. Guys, let us know who you thought won. Again, I do want to reiterate, celebrate Halloween if you want to celebrate it. I don't care if you're Christian or not Christian, or you're celebrating it because you think it's Christian, or if you're celebrating it because you think it's Irish, right? Celebrate holidays because they're fun to celebrate and they're a good time for community. But as always, let us know what you guys think in the debate. Let us know who you thought won. Let us know your opinions. Let us know what information we left out and didn't bring, what we were wrong about. And make sure you like and subscribe along with it, because we are here every week, 12 p.m. Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time. And until next time, peace.